Howdy everyone. Alright, so I'm still fitting this wingtip to the wing, and I'm getting to the point now where I'm fine-tuning the shims to get this leading edge to conform to the wing leading edge a lot better. So you can see I've got the wing tip attached to the wing, and you only need a single cleco to secure the wing to the wingtip. A single cleco on top will hold it just fine, but it does allow you to make some movement to tweak things to get an idea of what you need to do next. So a single cleco somewhere somewhat in the middle will do you just fine. So with that single cleco holding it in place, what I'm trying to figure out now, like I've talked about before, I'm shimming inside this leading edge to get it to open up so that it will conform to the wing skin on the top and on the bottom. And one thing that I wanted to point out, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to see this on camera, but the leading edge of the wing has a high point, right? The leading edge of the wingtip also has a high point. And you can see there's a gap here, and there's a little bit of a gap up here. And the wingtip can move up and down on this forward leading edge area. It can move up and down. And you want to, as best you can, keep the high point of the wing with the high point of the tip. So you can move the tip up and down to find that high point. If I bring the wingtip down toward the floor like this, you can see how nice it starts to fit all through here. But when I look at it from different angles, I can see that the high point of the tip is below the high point of the wing leading edge. And you can see that I've got a gap up here. So if I were to leave it like this, I would have to shim inside the bottom of the wingtip to close this gap with the skin. However, since this high point of the leading edge is not in alignment with the wingtip, I think it would be better if I move the wingtip toward the ceiling. And now this is fitting really nice. And this the high point of the leading edge here is in line with the high point of the leading edge of the wing. So I think that's a better fit overall. That, of course, opens up a gap here. So to close up this gap, I need to shim inside the wingtip, and that will open up the wing and close, or open up the tip and close this gap. And you can see here just by visually looking at this, this is roughly a 1/16, maybe a little bit more. So I'm looking at, I don't know what, a 0.6 something, a 0.7, 0.8-ish thick shim or shims. I might have to double up on a couple thin ones. But that's just trial and error at this point, figure out what I need to shim this to. So I'll cut up some 1/2 inch wide. You only have to grab, I think it's these first 3 or 4 screw holes. So I'll cut up a couple of strips 1/2 inch wide, maybe 8-9 inches in length, stick them in, bring the wingtip back over, fit it into place. Like I said, you want it to fit in here snug so there's no gap, but you don't want to have to force it in there. So it's going to be trial and error at this point to figure out how to shim it or how thick the shims need to be. But I'm going to make up some shims. I'm going to try to get this shimmed and to fit real nice, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. All right, so I've been working with shimming this front area of the wingtip. Again, it's the area on the front, both the top of the tip and on the bottom of the tip, where that internal fiberglass flange is sitting. It's that area of the tip that's getting the spacers to make the wingtip fatter, so it will fill all the voids that are in between it and the actual wing skin. So at this point, I think I'm done. I've got it shimmed as best that I can get it. I have more shims on this top side. Again, the wing is upside down, so this is the top of the wing. I have thicker spacers in here that pushes the entire wingtip this way, and that aligns the high point of the high point of the leading edge of the wing with the high point of the wingtip. And I've got a few shims in here, again, just to force the wingtip up and make it fit nice with the aluminum. If I didn't shim this and this wingtip sat lower, when you put your screws into the aluminum, it will take the aluminum and bend it. It will bring the wingtip up to the aluminum, but at the same time, it will try to take the aluminum down to the wingtip. And when you come across here, when it gets to the end of the aluminum, it will kind of have a bend to it. So to eliminate that, you want to shim inside of here. And I'll show you that again when I get the wingtip off. So this is as good as I am going to be able to get it. It's a lot like the wingtip on the other wing. All the gaps through here are really nice. And again, this is the top of the wing, so this is the surface I'm mostly concerned about as far as aesthetics go. The bottom of the wing I'm not too as concerned about because you won't be able to see it as easily, but still, the gap is really good. It's very, very nice, very clean. The only issue I have is at the very front, along the bottom, right here, from about the high point back about 2.5 inches, there's a gap right here. And what I will do, which is what I had done with the other wingtip, this basically is going to get filled in with fuel tank sealant. So I could probably screw with trying to reform fiberglass and who knows what. I'm not interested. This isn't bad enough for me to freak out over. So I think this is done as far as the shimming. Let me see if I can get that gap. Show you that gap a little bit. So that's the bad spot. That's as bad as it gets. Everything else looks really, really nice. So I'm cool. So I'll take this back off. I'll show you how I've got the shims, and I'll kind of run through that again real quick. But at this point, what I can do now is I have to start drilling the shims. Nothing in here has been drilled. So I have to pre-drill the shims so that they don't move. And then I can I can put it back on here and start match drilling. So that will be next. Let me get this off and I'll talk a little bit more about the wingtip itself. So here's the wing now on the bench. And you'll note that I have a strip of aluminum here, and there's another one on this side as well. This is not required. It's just a reinforcing strip. This is going to get fuel tank sealed to the wingtip, and then my nut plates will be riveted through the fiberglass and the aluminum. It's just something that I like to do rather than trying to rivet through plain fiberglass. But I make this piece long enough so that it also goes through this area here as well. So it does count as part of the shim stack that's in here. And like I said, I've got another one here as well. These are held on with tape. When you fit the wing, when you fit the tip to the wing, of course, you can't have clecos in here. So the only way to hold this in place is to use tape. And then when you get it over to the airplane, you can put your clecos in it. So the wingtip now is right side up. So this is the top of the wingtip. And the aluminum strip, let me see if I can get this better. This aluminum strip comes and it carries through here. And then you can see I've got another shim in here as well. This shim I think is an 032, 035, something like that. And then on the top, I've got the same thing. I've got the aluminum strip, and I've got this really fat shim as well. You might be able to see it a little bit better in here. So this is the fiberglass flange, right? This flange, actually, it's more like a rib. This rib is obviously not going to move. This outer skin can move. You can make it fatter by stuffing shims in between the rib and the outer fiberglass skin, which is what you see here. And that forces the shape of the wingtip, this nose area of the wingtip, fatter, and you can get it to fit tight inside the aluminum wing skin. And that's all these shims do. And again, these shims are just trial and error to get them to fit correctly. The fatter your shim, you're going to have to pre-bend it by hand to contour the wing as best you can. I'm going to bend this one a little bit better before I permanently install it. And again, you'll note that there are no through holes through here, and that was on purpose. There are no holes in the shims either. The only holes are the ones that I had pre-drilled, match drilled from the wingtip. The reason for that is you don't want to drill through into this piece and put clecos on it, because that's going to draw this down to the flange, and you don't want that when you're trying to figure out how thick your shims need to be. So now that I have my shims figured out, what I can do now is start the actual drilling. So I'm going to pull this piece out. I'm going to put a center line down it, and I'm going to start marking these holes, pull the piece out, pre-drill it, and get this all fitted together on the bench with clecos going all the way through it. And I'll do the same on the bottom. I'll go ahead and pull the shim out. I'll put a center line down it. I'll put it back in. I'll line the center line through the holes, and then I'll drill it all the way through, including this rib piece. This will all get drilled. Then I can put it back on the wing, and I'll be able to cleco the whole thing, including this area here with clecos. Once I get this all re-clecoed back to the wing itself, I can do my match drilling. After the match drilling is done, I can start on fuel tank sealant and nut plates, I believe. So for now, I'm going to pull this out and bend it a little bit so it's shaped nicer. Do the center lines, put them in, get them drilled, get everything aligned, drilled, if you will. Back onto the wing and match drill it. Okay, talk to you guys later.